Hey, what's going on, guys? Kitsune TCG here, back with another video, and actually we're going to be looking at Kashtira today, and this is the deck that won the YCS this previous weekend, and I thought I'd just kind of go over a list that I've seen, based off of what a lot of people are playing, plus, just kind of what I think would look really good in this deck. So your copies, you're going to be obviously running 3 Fenrir and 3 Unicorn. In previous formats, you were seeing a lot of Fenrir being run in other decks, but now with the, inclusion of the additional spell cards that we got in Photon Hypernova, Unicorn is definitely the better monster to have, so this is definitely the one that you want to be seeing, in your opening hand. We're just doing the 2 Rise Heart, because, you're if you get Unicorn, you're getting the spell card to summon Fenrir, and then Fenrir can get you Rise Heart or whatever you need. So sometimes you'll draw this and that's good, but a lot of times you're just actually able to search this out, so you definitely don't need to be running 3 of it. We just do 2 of the Scareclaw Kashtira, and this is just a really good extender as well. You're able to basically, put it on the board for essentially for free. And then we have the 1 Ogre. Sometimes, your hand's going to allow you to be able to get this one out. And there are some pretty, decent traps that you're able to search with it. So it is definitely something to consider. It's definitely one of the ones that if you were to cut it, you definitely could. But, just for the kind of flexibility of this deck being, such a small engine, I like its inclusion if you, are going against a deck that these kind of traps or, whatnot would do a lot better against. We obviously have 3 of the Kashtira the Oshus. This is obviously, the new card that is obviously going to just to push this deck to the next level. You can basically target Unicorn, if you've got that, and go into Fenrir. If you happen to draw both of these, then, just as good. But yeah, no, the deck obviously with this just was able to kind of go to that next level. You want to do 3 birth just because, every turn this is just basically making your plays better. You're, able to still normal summon a level 7, and then, once per turn you can just special summon 1 from your grave or banish, so you're just kind of able to keep going. We do need 3 of the field spell, and with that we do actually play 1 of the Scareclaw field spell, because, this does count as a Scareclaw monster as well, so that does put something like Second Rotation live. If you've already got access to this one, and you've gotten your Kashtira, this is also an option where if you are kind of just able to want to kind of expand a little bit more, grab a few more things, you definitely can. So that's where Set Rotation comes in. But, if you obviously, this is the better one to have, so if you, have Set Rotation and, you didn't have Terraforming, you didn't have access to this initially, you can just go this, give them this. It's not really going to help them out unless they're specifically playing Scareclaw. But yeah, and then so you'd still be able to get this. So you definitely are playing essentially like 5 copies of this, plus, like 2 or 3 copies of this, just as a little bit more of like a flex option if you have the ability to expand. The Big Bang is obviously going to be pretty good against a lot of decks, once, they kind of just start trying to combo through. I mean, most of the time, they're not really going to be controlling 2 more monsters with the way that you're able to lock out zones, but, for whatever reason that they've gotten rid of, your Shangri-La and things like that, you still are able to have some form of interruption. And in that same vein, you want to do 1 preparations, as far as, just kind of, again, because this deck is just so consistent and the engine is so small, you are able to play a lot of other cards. Prosperities is obviously going to make any bad hand that you may come across even better, and there's actually some plays with this due to a Rise Hearts effect that you have, and I'll kind of go over that in a second. 3 Ash Blossom, this is obviously going to hurt some decks, and then you also have it being able to hit Eclipse, so it has applications where, you can maybe stop depending on, what you think your opponent's hand looks like, or if you have, more knowledge, maybe a well-timed Ash Blossom can hurt. Plus, the ability to be able to stop a Book of Eclipse is actually really important. Just being able to protect your board. Lava Golem, you're not really playing anything that you're normal summoning, so having Lava Golem in the main deck is not a problem. If you have to go second, it's just something that you can out your opponent's board. And even if you have, your monster zones locked out, if they have the Arise Heart, Shangri-La on board, you can just get rid of those, give them a Lava Golem, and then you can just go about your plays. Book of Eclipse, just, kind of a, Lava Golem in a different vein, if you, see it and you're going second, you're just going to be able to book their board. They no longer have a Shangri-La face up, it doesn't destroy it, anything like that, and you're just able to kind of go from there. And then finally, N3 Imperm. This is just going to hit a lot of, really good decks right now. Doesn't really do too much against Kashtira, but, against other decks, like Brandon and things like that, it does have some good hits. Moving on to the extra deck. Obviously, you're never going to be able to hard summon the Intis. I mean, I guess you could, theoretically, but you're never wanting to do that. Actually, what you're usually using this for is you can send it off of Prosperity, and because of a Rise Heart's effect, whenever a card is banished, you're able to attach a banished card to it. You can, send this turn 0 off of Prosperity. Opponent does something, card is banished, you can go a Rise Heart effect to attach the Intis, and then, if you need to use its effect, you're going to be able to detach the 3, and you can use Intis, so you can just basically get an additional pop. So definitely something that is a pretty good card to play. The deck is flexible enough to have a pretty good or pretty refined extra deck, so it's definitely something that, you're not like having to cut anything important to do. You do run the 1 Baron just because, you do technically have the level 3 tuner in Ash, and all your cards are level 7. Depending on their hand, I mean, this could be a pretty good play for you just because it does stop Nibiru. It's not the best, but I mean, it is definitely worth playing this just because, Nibiru is going to be, being main deck, side decked, things like that. So if you know that they're on it, then this could definitely be a play to kind of go through and stop that. The 1 Bagushka may seem kind of weird, but there are instances where, if you have like Fenrir, Rise Heart, and just like a Lava Golem, like 2 Ash Blossoms, anything like that, anything that doesn't extend you to your full plays, this way you're able to end on something, just because, instead of ending on like a Shangri-La and, having no follow-up, you're able to, special Fenrir, you can search the 2nd Rise Heart, then you just, special your Rise Heart, don't use its effect to increase its level, and then you can just normal the other Rise Heart, overlay them, and then, you have a defense position Fenrir with a Baguska, so if they happen to out the Baguska somehow, you still have the Fenrir effect. So this is obviously your worst case scenario. You don't want to be going into it, but in the event that, you have a very bricked hand, then it's at least something that you can do. 2 Rise Heart and 2 Shangri-La. These are kind of mandatory, you oftentimes aren't needing to summon more than 1, but, obviously in a mirror match, you don't want them to have banished anything important, so you do want to make sure that you're at least playing multiple copies, and, it may come up, but especially if you're, the Shangri-La is definitely at 2 copies because you're able to, in a lot of boards, get 2 on board, and that's how you're typically able to go through and at least, block out 5, 6, sometimes like up to 9 or 10 zones. So you definitely do want to play 2 of that. This is probably going to be the card that'll be hit on the next ban list, before they go through and start hitting any of the Kashtira cards. I wouldn't be surprised if Diabolos is banished. Just the ability to, look at your opponent's extra deck and banish a monster from it. And then that triggers every other card, so this is definitely a card that you need to play at least 1 of. Big Eye is also really good, so, I mean, obviously this is all just a bunch of rank 7 things. The ability just to permanently steal is going to be really, really important. So, depends on, you know, what your opponent's playing and things like that, this could definitely be a very good deck, a very good card to go into. I definitely saw a lot of people on the Dark Arm Dragon XYZ, and it is definitely, you know, it has a lot of application. You're just able to detach a material from a target card that they control and destroy it, so, you know, you're going to just be able to out a lot of things if, you know, they have anything that you're worried about, maybe a set card, especially against like Labyrinth and things like that. Now, Flare Metal Dragon may seem a little bit weird, because, you know, you're not really going to be able to get its effect on Detach because you're not playing like a normal Red Eyes, but the ability to have something that can't be destroyed by card effect while it has XYZ material, plus, you know, while it has XYZ material, you inflict 500 damage after every card that they activate, so this is essentially your version of Masquerade, so in time, this is definitely a very good card to go into, you know, if, you know, in the instance that you have a few minutes left, and instead of having to go like a Baguska play, you know, you can just go Flare Metal with the Fenrir and the Rise Heart, and if that's all you're able to end on, you know, then you know, time is an unfortunate thing in the game, but, you know, having something that, you know, can push you over the top with it, I think is still something that's worth running. And then you have the 2 Zeus. Obviously, you need to make sure that you're playing 2, just because, you know, that is definitely something that if you're only playing 1 of in a mirror match, that they're definitely going to banish just to avoid running into it. But playing 2 kind of does, you know, prevent that from being an issue for you. And then finally, the 2 Link Karibo. This is entirely here for, you know, if you run into anybody playing Ibli, you're just able to get rid of that and then just kind of continue throughout your plays. Watching the YCS, I didn't see too many people playing it. I don't think it ever resolved. So I don't know if that's necessarily something that should be played. But it's better to have it and, you know, not need it, just because, you know, the extra deck is very much, you know, has a bunch of open like flex slots for you, than to, you know, need it and not have it. So definitely, I think, still worth playing. Kind of going on to the side deck. You do run Lancia. This is going to be for the mirror match, you know, just being able to shut your opponent down, you know, not letting them lock out any of your zones, you know, not letting them just kind of extend any further, is definitely going to make Lancia a card that you should run in your side deck. Definitely no need to main it, but, you know, something for Game 2, Game 3 against the Kashtira mirror match that is really good. Dimensional Shifter. This is also a really good card. You know, you're not maining it because it doesn't, you're kind of able to play, you know, without it, but it shuts down, you know, a lot of branded variants that, you know, really kind of go into the, like, branded, like, expulsion, things like that package, so definitely necessary to at least run this in the side, just because branded looks like it's turning out to be the second best deck, so you're going to definitely be running into a lot of people playing the deck. And this also, you know, it does have the added effect that when, you know, when it comes to your turn, you know, it doesn't hurt you at all, you know. Birth is able to summon back from banished as well, so having your cards banished isn't really an issue for you at all.